Hey, how's it going, people? Brown Brady here, and thank you for tuning into my channel. And in this episode, I'm just going to be telling you about how I started to test the lean angle limits of my motorcycle. See, I'm not a professional rider, so this is still sort of new to me. And if you're new to my channel, let me just briefly tell you about my motorcycle and how I got here. I started riding when I turned 40, and I've had a few motorcycles ever since. Today I have a 2009 Suzuki Boulevard M50, which is still considered a beginner motorcycle. So I made it my mission this year to put in more seat time in order to regain my confidence. The weather this past week has been cold and wet. It's as if summer couldn't wait to leave. As soon as summer ended, the clouds moved in and it rained for an entire week, so I really couldn't practice that much. But as soon as the weather cleared up, I couldn't wait to take out my motorcycle. I would consider my fear level on this motorcycle to be moderate, because sometimes I find it very intimidating to make U-turns, so I'm afraid to lean the bike too much. I didn't have the same level of fear with my Honda CBR 250, but with this bike, I sometimes would have to put a foot down whenever I make a U-turn out on the streets. But first I needed to practice staying inside the friction zone. If you're a new rider, the friction zone is holding the clutch in just enough so that the rear tire is receiving power without letting the clutch all the way out. The reason why this scale is very important is because it's so much more difficult to control power delivery using the throttle alone, because it could get very jerky. Using the throttle and staying within the friction zone gives you finer control over power delivery. So then that was the first thing that I worked on. It was nothing fancy. I was just applying a little bit of power and a little bit of rear brakes while riding in a straight line. When I got to the end, I turned around and did it again in the opposite direction. The idea was to move the bike as slowly as possible and staying within the friction zone and applying a little bit of rear brakes. I did this for about 5 minutes. After having more confidence in knowing where the friction zone was, I started working on U-turns. I started making very wide U-turns at first, about 4 parking spots wide, and I worked my way down to 3 spots and then down to 2. It took me about 15 minutes to get to this point, but my clutch hand was already tired and I was starting to miss the friction zone. So I rested for a couple of minutes to relax my hand and to cool down the engine. The thing about the friction zone is if you pull the clutch in too much or all the way and your bike is already going too slow during a turn, you could risk stalling the bike and the bike could fall. So you need to be going fast enough around a U-turn in order to counteract the effects of gravity. After about 20 minutes, I started to get more cocky and I thought, hey, why not lean it some more until I scrape the foot pegs? I only tried it a few times, but when I got close, I thought I was going to slide, so I kept putting my foot down. This was a dirty parking lot after all, with lots of sand and tiny rocks on cracked pavement. I was in one of General Motors' parking lots in South Oshawa. This used to be a very busy plant, employing thousands of people. But today I think they're down to 300 employees, and so the parking lot is now in a state of disrepair. Anyway, I thought I'd call it a day after that. Besides, it's better to practice in small increments than day-long marathons. It wasn't until later that evening when I was forced to test my motorcycle's lean angle for real. I wanted to practice riding at night and to have another go at practicing in a parking lot. I chose to go to Lakeview Park this time, but when I got to the parking lot, I was surprised to see it was very busy, and I hated riding through busy parking lots, so I skipped the entrance and kept going straight. But now I was coming to a dead end. I could have stopped here and duck walked the bike to a U-turn, but I was feeling brave and felt, hey, why not put into practice what I've been working on and make a U-turn right here? So I played back the checklist in my head. Don't go too slow, stay in the friction zone, apply a little rear brake, stay off the front brakes, turn your head completely to where you want to go. And then it happened. I heard the peg scrape the pavement as it bent backwards from under my foot, but I made the U-turn. I was so nervous that I accidentally hit the horn while reaching for the turn signals. I honestly thought I was going to hit that curb, but I fought the urge to look at what I was going to hit, and instead, I trusted the bike and kept looking towards where I wanted to go. It was scary yet satisfying at the same time. And so, having a sense of accomplishment, I called it a night and headed for home. And on my way back, I was treated to the lovely sound of this Harley's exhaust note. There is of course so much more to learn on this bike, and I can't wait to take it out on the highway this week. I'm planning on taking this out on the Don Valley Parkway in Toronto. I know all you experienced riders are probably dragging pegs in corners on a regular basis, and this is not a big deal to you anymore. But do you remember how it felt on your first foot peg drag? Let me know in the comments section. So I'm going to end it at that. Guys and girls, if you like this video, please hit that like button or share this video with your friends. Or better yet, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. As always, ride safe, and thanks for watching.
You look like a